To our amazing Infidelity Tales Lab family, welcome, and thank you for joining us. Your support means the world. Quick question, where are you listening from today? Which city? Which country? Drop it below. Now let's dive into today's story. The steady rhythm of windshield wipers cut through the torrential rain as Ramon Conrad's BMW M5 tore through Boston's empty streets. His knuckles whitened against the steering wheel as he replayed Shelby's panic call. "Ramon, the baby, it's coming early." Her voice had cracked with urgency. "I'm at Mass General. Everyone from the shower is here. Please hurry." He hadn't bothered changing out of his tailored suit after the Morrison case wrapped up early. The case that should have kept him occupied all weekend, until it hadn't. The timing nagged at him, but he pushed the thought aside as he swerved around a slow-moving cab. The digital dashboard displayed 3:17 a.m. Ramon had spent enough nights working hospital-related cases to know the graveyard shift patterns. The parking garage shouldn't be this empty, not with a full baby shower's worth of well-wishers supposedly present. His Italian leather shoes echoed against concrete as he strode toward the elevator, each step amplifying the disquiet in his gut. 15 years as a defense attorney had honed his instincts. Something felt wrong. The maternity ward's reception area was deserted except for a young nurse who looked up from her phone as he approached. Her name tag read Jessica. "I'm Ramon Conrad. My wife, Shelby." "Oh." The nurse's eyes widened with recognition. "Mr. Conrad, you'll need to wait. Your brother's already inside with the mother and baby." Ramon's stride faltered. "My brother? Dr. Conrad? He was on call tonight. Such a fortunate coincidence." Jessica's smile faltered as she registered his expression. "I assumed you knew." Sebastian. His younger brother had built his surgical career at Mass General, climbing the ranks with the same ruthless determination that defined all Conrad men. Except Sebastian's ambitions had always carried an edge of resentment, a younger sibling's perpetual grievance at coming second. "Which room?" Ramon's voice was steel wrapped in silk, the tone that had made him famous in courtrooms across the state. "Sir, I really can't." Ramon fixed her with the same stare that had broken witnesses on the stand. "I'm on the hospital's board of directors." Nurse Jessica. "The room number?" "Now." She swallowed hard. 2147. But they asked not to be disturbed. He was already moving, muscle memory guiding him through familiar corridors. A lifetime of prosecuting corruption cases had taught him the value of documentation. His phone was already recording as he approached the partially open door. Shelby's voice drifted out, thick with exhaustion, but tinged with something else. Satisfaction? "We'll tell him about his real dad when he goes to college," she was saying. "Till then, we'll raise him with Ramon's money. He makes partner next month. The timing couldn't be better." A soft male chuckle, Sebastian's. "My nephew on paper, my son in truth." Poetic justice. Considering Ramon always got everything else. "Everything except the Conrad eyes," Shelby replied. "Look at him, Sebastian. Those beautiful green eyes, just like yours." Ramon's hand tightened around his phone. The Conrad eyes. That striking emerald shade that had skipped him entirely, manifesting instead in Sebastian and their father. A genetic marker he'd never have passed to any child. "He's perfect," Sebastian murmured. "Worth every risk, every secret meeting. Remember that first night in my office? When I brought you dinner during your emergency surgery?" Shelby's laugh held no trace of guilt. Ramon was so proud of himself for marrying such a supportive wife. His pride was always his weakness. Too busy celebrating his own brilliance to notice what was happening under his nose. Ramon's free hand curled into a fist, but his breathing remained steady. Controlled. He'd built his reputation on turning emotion into ammunition, weakness into weapon. "How long can you stay?" Shelby asked. "My shift technically ended an hour ago. The benefits of being department head, no one questions my hours." Sebastian's voice dripped with smug satisfaction. "I've already updated the birth certificate. Just need Ramon's signature once he finally shows up. He'll sign without reading it," Shelby said confidently. "He trusts me to handle all the paperwork. Always has." The great Ramon Conrad, outsmarted by his trophy wife and little brother. Sebastian's voice hardened. "All those years of him looking down on me, treating me like his shadow. Now my son will inherit his fortune. The voices continued, but Ramon had heard enough. His phone kept recording as he withdrew silently, mind already cataloging leverage points and pressure tactics. In the corridor, a young resident glanced at him curiously. Dr. Luis, Ramon nodded, recognizing one of Sebastian's subordinates. Busy night? Quieter than usual, actually. Just that one delivery in 2147. The resident paused. Though it was strange. Oh. Dr. Conrad insisted on handling it personally, even though Dr. Chun was the attending on call. Said something about it being a VIP patient. Luis shrugged. Above my pay grade, I guess. Ramon's smile didn't reach his eyes. Indeed. Tell me, Dr. Luis, how long have you been hoping to transfer to Mass General's cardiac unit? The resident blinked at the apparent non sequitur. Since residency started, but the waiting list? Send me your CV tomorrow. The board's always interested in sharp young doctors who understand the importance of proper documentation. Understanding dawned in Luis's eyes. He nodded slowly. I keep very detailed records, Mr. Conrad, including any unusual changes to standard protocols or attending assignments. Excellent. Have those records ready as well? Ramon pulled out a business card. My direct line. And doctor? This conversation never happened. The drive home was a blur of rain and strategic calculation. Ramon's mind raced through options, categorizing and dismissing possibilities with surgical precision. The recording felt heavy in his pocket, a nuclear option, but not his only weapon. In his home office, Ramon accessed his private server. Years of high-profile cases had taught him the value of comprehensive surveillance. Every email, every text message Shelby had sent through accounts he paid for, all backed up automatically. He considered it insurance against corporate espionage. How fitting that it would prove useful in a more personal betrayal. Dawn was breaking as Ramon finally allowed himself to feel the full weight of the night's revelations. But where another man might have drowned in grief or rage, he felt only a cold, clarifying purpose. They played their game, believing him a fool. Now they would learn why Boston's criminal elite feared the name Conrad. His phone buzzed. Shelby. Where are you? Her voice was perfectly concerned. We've been so worried. The baby came so fast. Traffic, Ramon replied smoothly. Terrible accident on the expressway. But I'm on my way now, darling. After all, his voice hardened imperceptibly. I wouldn't want to miss this for the world. He ended the call and turned back to his computer. On the screen, hundreds of archived messages between Shelby and Sebastian revealed years of calculated deception. Each one a bullet in the gun he was methodically loading. They thought they'd orchestrated the perfect betrayal. They were about to discover just how wrong they were. The first rays of sunrise painted his office in shades of blood red as Ramon Conrad began to plan his counterstrike. In the hospital across town, his wife and brother cradled their newborn son, basking in the warmth of their imagined victory. They had no idea that the real game was just beginning. Let them savor their moment of triumph. Soon enough, they would learn the true meaning of poetic justice. The end of Act I approached, but for Ramon Conrad, this was only the opening move in a game he intended to win. After all, he hadn't become Boston's most feared attorney by showing mercy to those who betrayed him. Dawn broke over the city as Ramon straightened his tie, checked his recording one final time, and prepared to meet his newborn son. The mask of the proud father was firmly in place, concealing the executioner beneath. The game was set. The pieces were in motion. And Ramon Conrad never lost a game that mattered. The rhythmic ticking of Ramon's Patek Philippe watch filled his parked BMW as the first hints of dawn crept over Mass General's parking garage. His hand still gripped the phone, containing the recording that had shattered his world mere hours ago. But unlike the device's cold metal, his mind burned white-hot with calculated fury. My nephew on paper, my son in truth. Sebastian's smug voice echoed in the recording as Ramon played it back one final time. Each word crystallized into a weapon in his arsenal. He began crafting a message to Dr. Chun, the attending physician who should have handled Shelby's delivery. The same doctor who had mysteriously been replaced by Sebastian. Dr. Chun, concerning tonight's irregularities in the maternity ward rotation. Ramon's fingers flew across the screen, his legal training automatically documenting the first threads of what would become an intricate web. His phone buzzed with a text from Shelby. "Where are you? The nurse said you were here earlier." Ramon allowed himself a thin smile as he ignored the message. Let them stew in their uncertainty. He had other priorities. Opening his laptop, he accessed the hospital's administrative portal, a system he knew intimately as board member. Years of handling medical malpractice cases had taught him exactly where to look for irregularities. The search results painted a damning picture. Sebastian's badge had accessed his office hundreds of times during off hours over the past year. Each entry logged, time-stamped, and conveniently matching nights when Shelby had brought him dinner during emergencies. Getting sloppy, little brother, Ramon muttered, downloading the security logs. So confident in your secret that you forgot about the digital trail. His next stop was the hospital's security footage archive. One call to the head of security, citing a potential liability issue, granted him immediate access. "Mr. Conrad? It's unusual to access archives this early," the security chief mentioned. "Just being thorough, Jim. You know how these insurance companies are about documentation?" Ramon's voice carried just the right mix of authority and casual familiarity, especially with high-risk deliveries. The footage revealed more than he'd hoped. Countless snippets of Shelby entering Sebastian's office late at night, staying for hours. Their careful exits minutes apart, thinking they were clever. The supposedly coincidental meetings in the hospital CAF. But it was the baby shower footage that truly ignited Ramon's rage. He watched as Shelby and Sebastian orchestrated the fake emergency that had conveniently rescheduled the event to coincide with his case's early settlement. Code blue and maternity. Sebastian's voice rang clear in the footage, sending the shower guests into panic. Hours of security footage showed not a single actual emergency that night. Ramon's phone buzzed again. Another text from Shelby. "Honey, please come meet your son. He has the most beautiful green eyes." The mention of eyes triggered another memory. Ramon pulled up the hospital's electronic health records, focusing on Shelby's prenatal forms. There it was, her signature on insurance documents listing him as the father, dated months after she knew the truth. Insurance fraud, Ramon noted, forwarding copies to his secure server. Amateur move, darling. His next call was to the hospital's compliance office. "This is Ramon Conrad. I need all visitor logs and after-hours access records for Dr. Sebastian Conrad's office, dating back 18 months. Yes, it's urgent. Board matter." The compliance officer's voice turned serious. "Sir, there are irregularities in those logs. Dr. Conrad hasn't been following visitor documentation protocols. Document everything," Ramon instructed. "Every violation, every missed log, every unauthorized access. I want a full report by noon." Next came the financial angle. Ramon logged into their joint accounts he'd structured carefully when they married, his prosecutor's instincts never fully dormant. Shelby's spending history told its own story. Regular charges at high-end restaurants near the hospital, always on nights she was supposedly bringing Sebastian dinner. Hotel charges disguised as medical conferences. Every transaction a new brushstroke in the portrait of betrayal. But Ramon's masterstroke came when he accessed their cloud storage, the backup system he'd insisted on for family security. Every text, every email, every photo Shelby had sent through accounts he paid for, automatically archived. The messages between her and Sebastian spanned years. He doesn't suspect a thing. Too busy chasing partner to notice. Shelby, 6 months ago. Once he makes partner, we'll have everything we need. His money, his reputation, and our son, Sebastian, 3 months ago. The green eyes sealed it. No way to explain those away. Shelby, last week. Ramon downloaded everything, methodically organizing evidence into categories. Professional misconduct, insurance fraud, misuse of hospital resources. Each category a loaded gun aimed at their carefully constructed future. A new email caught his attention, the compliance officer's preliminary report. Sebastian had violated visitor documentation policies over 300 times in the past year alone. Each violation carried potential sanctions. Ramon's phone buzzed yet again. This time, a message from his brother. "Where are you?" Shelby's worried. "Don't you want to meet your son?" The raw audacity fueled Ramon's next moves. He began drafting emails to key hospital board members, attaching selected security footage. Another set of emails went to the medical board, documenting Sebastian's pattern of protocol violations. But he wasn't done. Ramon accessed Shelby's law firm's internal portal, access she'd granted him months ago to help with her career. Within minutes, he documented every instance where she'd used firm resources during her hospital visits, every billable hour misreported to cover her absences. The sun had fully risen when Ramon finally allowed himself a moment of reflection. In his inbox, dozens of responses from board members and hospital administrators were already accumulating, each one expressing shock, requesting meetings, demanding explanations. He opened a new text to Shelby. "Traffic finally clearing. On my way to meet our son. Let them savor their imagined victory a little longer." By the time he walked into that hospital room, their world would already be crumbling. His phone rang, the medical board's chief administrator. "Mr. Conrad, we've received some disturbing documentation regarding Dr. Sebastian Conrad." "I'm glad you called," Ramon replied smoothly. "I've been compiling evidence of systematic misconduct. Would you like to meet?" The administrator's tone turned grave. "Immediately, if possible. These allegations, the unauthorized access alone. I'll have my office send everything we have, including the delivery room recording from last night." A sharp intake of breath. "Recording?" "Yes." Ramon's voice carried just a hint of steel. "My brother and his patient were quite candid about their relationship and their plans." The call ended with promises of emergency board meetings and immediate action. Ramon made one final stop before heading back to the hospital, his bank. "I need to freeze all joint accounts," he informed the manager. "And I'm exercising power of attorney over my wife's separate accounts." Suspected fraud. The manager, who had handled Ramon's accounts for years, didn't hesitate. "Of course, Mr. Conrad. Will you need documentation for legal proceedings?" "Everything. And contact the insurance company. They'll be interested in some fraudulent claims." Back in his car, Ramon reviewed his morning's work. The hospital board was in chaos. The medical board was launching an investigation. Sebastian's career was hanging by a thread, and Shelby's carefully constructed financial safety net was evaporating. His phone chimed with an alert. The first hospital-wide emails about Sebastian's investigation were going out. Right on schedule. Another text from Shelby. "Ramon, please hurry. Sebastian had to leave for another surgery. I don't want to be alone." He allowed himself a cold smile as he started the car. Alone. She had no idea how alone she was about to be. The hospital loomed ahead as Ramon drove back, his expression carved from marble. In his wake, digital warheads were detonating across servers and inboxes throughout Boston's medical community. By the time he walked into that delivery room, the mighty Dr. Sebastian Conrad would be facing suspension. Shelby's law firm would be questioning her integrity, and their carefully planned future would be disintegrating in real time. They thought they had orchestrated the perfect betrayal. Instead, they had merely handed Ramon all the ammunition he needed for their destruction. The game was ending, but not the way they had planned. Not by a long shot. The second act drew to a close as Ramon Conrad parked his car, straightened his tie, and prepared to enter the hospital one final time. Not as the deceived husband, but as the architect of their downfall. They wanted his money and his name. They were about to learn the true cost of both. Ramon's footsteps echoed through the maternity ward corridor, each step measured and deliberate. The morning shift had started, nurses and doctors hustling past him with sideways glances. News traveled fast in hospitals, especially when delivered through internal messaging systems. Sebastian's phone chimed with increasing urgency as Ramon approached room 2147. Through the door's window, he watched his brother frantically scanning through emails, color draining from his face. "This can't be happening," Sebastian muttered, fingers trembling over his phone screen. "Who could have?" Ramon pushed open the door. "Congratulations." His voice cut through the room like a scalpel. "The video of your little confession has gone viral. The board's particularly interested in those unauthorized after-hours visits. Shelby bolted upright in her hospital bed, grabbing for her phone. Her face contorted as notifications flooded her screen. "What have you done?" "Done?" Ramon's smile never reached his eyes. "I simply shared some interesting hospital security footage. Your law firm seems especially interested. They're tagged in quite a few posts." Sebastian stood, trying to summon his usual arrogance. "You're bluffing. There's no proof of 317 unauthorized access logs to your office in the past year alone." Ramon pulled out his phone, scrolling through documents. Interesting timing, too. Always matching Shelby's emergency dinner deliveries. "Those were legitimate medical consultations," Sebastian sputtered. "Really? The hotel receipts suggest otherwise. As do your text messages about timing the birth to coincide with my partnership announcement." Shelby's phone rang, her law firm's managing partner. She declined the call with shaking fingers. "Ramon, we can explain." "Explain the insurance fraud?" He turned his phone screen toward her. "These prenatal forms listing me as the father should be interesting to investigators, especially given your documented knowledge of paternity." The baby stirred in his bassinet, drawing Sebastian's attention. Ramon noted how his brother instinctively moved toward his son, another piece of evidence for the medical board. "You're destroying everything over wounded pride," Sebastian spat. "Pride?" Ramon's laugh was cold. "You plotted to steal my money, my name, and my reputation. Now you'll lose yours instead." Shelby's phone buzzed again, another partner calling. "Please, Ramon, think about the baby. Your son." He emphasized the word. "Don't worry. The paternity test I've demanded will ensure he gets his real father's name. Though Sebastian's upcoming unemployment might complicate child support." Sebastian lunged forward, but Ramon didn't flinch. "Touch me, and assault charges will be the least of your concerns." A nurse appeared in the doorway. "Dr. Conrad, the chief of surgery needs to see you immediately." Sebastian's face crumpled as reality set in. "This will ruin my practice, my reputation. Should have thought of that before using hospital resources for your affair." Ramon straightened his tie. "The board's particularly interested in how you manipulated schedules to deliver your own child. Quite the ethical breach." Shelby's phone lit up with a text from her firm. "Emergency meeting 9 a.m. Attendance mandatory. You'll never work in Boston again," she hissed. "Actually, I made partner this morning." Ramon's smile was razor-sharp. "The firm was impressed with how I handled this case. They're adding medical malpractice to my portfolio." The next weeks unfolded exactly as Ramon had orchestrated. Sebastian's surgical privileges were suspended pending investigation, his wealthy private practice clients fleeing at the first hint of scandal. The hospital board's hearing was particularly satisfying. Ramon sat in the back, watching his brother try to defend years of ethical violations. "Love justified the risks," Sebastian argued, his normally confident voice cracking. The board chairman's response was ice-cold. "Love justifies violating patient care protocols? Falsifying medical records? Using hospital resources for personal affairs?" Shelby's professional collapse was equally swift. Ramon received updates from former colleagues at her firm. "She's been terminated," his friend Thomas reported over lunch. "The insurance fraud alone? Plus she burned through her billable targets covering up those hospital visits." "How unfortunate," Ramon replied, cutting into his steak. The divorce proceedings were a masterclass in legal precision. Ramon's documentation left no room for manipulation. "The paternity test confirms the child is not yours," his divorce attorney announced. "Combined with the documented fraud, she'll get nothing." Ramon nodded, signing the final papers. "And Sebastian? His medical license hearing is next week. Given the evidence of professional misconduct, suspension is likely." 1 year later, Ramon stood at his corner office window, admiring the Boston skyline. His phone buzzed with a news alert that made him smile. Former Mass General Surgeon takes position at rural Maine clinic. The article detailed Sebastian's fall from grace, his prestigious career reduced to working in a small-town medical center. His attempt to maintain his Boston practice had failed as wealthy clients fled the scandal. Another notification popped up, an email from his private investigator. Subject spotted working as paralegal in hometown law firm. Attempts to claim increased child support denied due to plaintiff's reduced income. Child healthy, distinctive green eyes noted. Ramon archived the email, then turned to his desk. The digital frames cycled through old family photos, reminders of the price of betrayal. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Mr. Conrad, your next client is here. Another medical malpractice case. Send them in." Ramon straightened his tie. Earlier reflections forgotten. The past was settled. Justice had been served. The final photo in the frame showed a family gathering from years ago. Sebastian and Shelby stood together, their secrets still safe, their futures still bright. That future had shattered under the weight of evidence that didn't lie, even when people did. Ramon switched off the frame and turned to greet his client. The game was over. He had won. And somewhere in rural Maine, a toddler with striking green eyes would grow up knowing that sometimes the most devastating evidence isn't found in DNA or video footage. It's found in the calculated precision of justice served cold. Epilogue: 5 years later. Ramon Conrad's corner office on the 42nd floor of Boston's most prestigious law firm offered a commanding view of the city he now dominated. The morning sun glinted off his newly minted nameplate. Ramon Conrad, Senior Managing Partner, Medical Malpractice Division. His phone buzzed with a familiar notification. His quarterly update from the private investigator he kept on retainer. Subject S. Conrad continues employment at Pine Valley Medical Clinic, Maine. Annual salary remains $85,000, down from previous earnings of $875,000 at Mass General. Recent application for position at Portland General Hospital rejected due to ongoing medical board restrictions. Subject S. Miller, formerly Conrad, still employed as paralegal at Thompson & Associates, New Hampshire. Salary $42,000. Third attempt at paralegal certification exam failed. Recent petition for increased child support denied due to Subject S. Conrad's limited income. Child, age 5, enrolled in local public school. Distinctive green eyes noted. No contact with maternal or paternal extended family maintained. Ramon archived the report with a satisfied smile. His quarterly check-ins weren't born of lingering attachment, but rather a businessman's desire to verify his investments' returns. "Mr. Conrad?" His assistant Sarah's voice came through the intercom. "Dr. Chun is here about the Morrison case. Send her in." Dr. Jessica Chun, now chief of obstetrics at Mass General, entered with a confident stride that had been absent 5 years ago when she'd first testified about Sebastian's ethical violations. "The board received another appeal from your brother," she reported, settling into a chair. "Same argument. Claims the suspension should be lifted since he's served his time." Ramon raised an eyebrow. Their response? Denied. Again. Jessica allowed herself a small smile. "His conduct violated every ethical standard we have. Using hospital resources for an affair, delivering his own child, falsifying records. The board considers him a permanent liability. He's lucky to still have a license at all. A restricted one." Jessica pulled out her tablet. "Speaking of restrictions, you'll enjoy this. Remember that nurse who tried to block you that night? She's now head of maternal care protocols. Rewrote the entire visitor documentation system." Ramon nodded approvingly. Professional competence always impressed him, even when it had once been used against him. His phone lit up with another message. This one from Thomas, his old friend at Shelby's former law firm. "Thought you want to know. She tried applying for an associate position here. Using her maiden name, probably hoped we wouldn't connect the dots. Should have done better research. I'm on the hiring committee now." Ramon's reply was succinct. Standards must be maintained. A knock at his door revealed Sarah again. "Sorry to interrupt, but you have that charity board meeting at 11. The Children's Hospital Wing dedication. The Conrad Family Pediatric Care Center," Ramon confirmed. "My father's legacy deserved better than Sebastian's disgrace." After Jessica left, Ramon allowed himself a moment of reflection. The medical community's respect for the Conrad name had been salvaged, redirected from Sebastian's tainted reputation to Ramon's philanthropic works. His laptop chimed with an email from his realtor. Property update. S. Conrad's main residence remains underwater. Third refinancing attempt denied. Property taxes 3 months overdue. Sebastian's financial free fall had been particularly satisfying to watch. His brother had once sneered at Ramon's careful money management, preferring to live on credit and reputation. Now both were exhausted. A news alert caught his attention. Pine Valley Clinic faces budget cuts. Rural healthcare crisis continues. The accompanying photo showed Sebastian in wrinkled scrubs, looking a decade older than his 40 years as he treated minor injuries and wrote prescriptions for the common cold. Gone were the complex surgeries and wealthy private patients. Gone was the respected surgeon who had once looked down on his mere lawyer brother. Ramon opened another email, this one from his contact at New Hampshire's Bar Association. Miller's fourth attempt at paralegal certification scheduled for next month. Previous failures noted in application. Supervisor reports ongoing issues with attention to detail and documentation procedures. The irony wasn't lost on him. Shelby, who had once mocked his obsession with proper documentation, now couldn't master basic legal filing procedures. His investigators' latest photos showed her living in a small apartment above a diner, driving a 10-year-old Honda, and shopping at discount stores. The designer wardrobe and luxury lifestyle she'd planned to maintain with Ramon's money were distant memories. Mr. Conrad? Sarah's voice again. Your ex-sister-in-law is on line 2. Says it's about the family trust. Ramon's mother had revised the Conrad family trust 2 years ago, removing Sebastian and his child from the inheritance line. Shelby's periodic attempts to challenge this had become almost entertaining. Take a message. He turned back to his window view, remembering another detail from the investigator's report. Their son, now in kindergarten, was struggling with questions about his family. Sebastian's monthly visits were brief and strained, his father's fallen status a constant reminder of choices made. Shelby's attempts to maintain appearances fooled no one in their small town where everyone knew their story. The boy's green eyes, once weaponized as proof of paternity, now served as a constant reminder of their betrayal. The Conrad family trait that had skipped Ramon had become a mark of shame rather than pride. Ramon's desk phone lit up his father's number. The hospital board meeting went well, the elder Conrad reported without preamble. They've officially renamed the surgical wing. Your brother's name has been removed from all historical records. He made his choice, Ramon replied. Yes. A pause. Your mother saw him at the grocery store when she visited her sister in Maine. Says he looked diminished. Choices have consequences. Indeed. Another pause. The boy? Your mother worries. The trust will provide for his education, Ramon conceded. Anonymously, through the family foundation. But he'll never carry the Conrad name. His father's approval came through clearly. The family legacy would remain untainted. A calendar alert reminded Ramon of his lunch appointment, another merger discussion with a prominent medical malpractice firm. His reputation for handling sensitive cases had skyrocketed after his own divorce proceedings demonstrated his skill at combining legal expertise with devastating precision. Sarah appeared one final time. Your brother left a voicemail. Says it's about your mother's birthday next month. Delete it. Ramon turned back to his view of Boston's medical district, where Mass General's towers rose against the sky. And send in the merger paperwork. 5 years had transformed the players in ways none had expected. Ramon's calculated revenge had elevated him professionally while ensuring his betrayers faced daily reminders of their choices. Sebastian, once the golden child of Boston medicine, now treated sniffles and sprained ankles in rural Maine. His grand plans for inheriting the Conrad legacy laid as bare as his empty bank accounts. Shelby, who had plotted to live in luxury on Ramon's money, struggled to maintain basic certification in a profession she'd once condescended to. Her social media accounts, once full of charity galas and luxury vacations, now showed grocery store sales and discount furniture. Their son, meant to be their triumph, instead served as a daily reminder of consequences. His green eyes, rather than proving their victory, marked him as the product of betrayal, destined to grow up in the shadow of his parents' disgrace. Ramon's phone buzzed one final time. Another update from Maine. Subject S. Conrad observed leaving hospital after shift. Overheard telling colleague. I had it all. The Conrad name, the perfect career, the perfect life. One mistake. But it hadn't been one mistake. It had been years of calculated deception, arrogance, and underestimation. They had thought Ramon a fool to be exploited. Instead, he had become the architect of their downfall. The morning sun caught Ramon's reflection in his office window. Successful, respected, and unbowed. Below, Boston's medical community hummed with activity, its prominent players all aware of his influence. The Conrad name remained powerful, but now it was mentioned with respect tinged with fear rather than mere admiration. Evidence didn't lie, but people did, and some lies carried consequences that lasted a lifetime. Ramon turned back to his desk, the past filed away as neatly as the quarterly reports documenting his victory. He had cases to win, empires to build, and a legacy to maintain. After all, justice served cold was still justice, and the Conrad name would be remembered for delivering it. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen, and I'll see you there.